What's going on? What's going on, folks? Welcome to Pro Fan Talk Live, Wednesday night edition. News keeps breaking or getting broke. I need more water right now. So we get reverb. There we go. That much better. So what's up, little G? What's up, Yerp Bob? So hold on. Let me see if I can activate the Facebooks. Let me see. There we go. Because here's the thing. Here's what just happened. So I did I saw the story from Diana Rossini about an hour ago, and then 5 minutes after she posted that video, and I set up everything for the stream. What's going on, right? Um, she puts out an addendum, like she uh reneges on it. So hold on, let me switch up. I can just show it to you. I'm getting all these graphics and stuff good, but check this out. So here we go. Sirianni on. So bam, there we go. So you see at about I guess about an hour ago, both Eagles GM Howie Roseman and head coach Nick Sirianni have reached out to available NFL coaches and coordinators, as well as coaching agents across the league to evaluate potential coordinator candidates to join their coaching staff as they plan for the 2024 season. Right? What's going on, all my people on Facebook right now? Frank, Carl Wright, Thomas Stapleton, I appreciate y'all. Sean Holden, I see you up there. Um, so that was about an hour ago. And then 5 minutes after that, she puts out another post that says, though this may suggest that Nick Sirianni is safe, I'm told he has not met with owner Jeffrey Lurie, something that was not possible today because of logistics issues. Until that meeting happens, all bets are off, which means she got something from somebody else and she ran with it. So, um, you know, that's the way it goes because you never know. Um, and this is why I always tell people, when you hear somebody talk about sources, you never know what sources are. You never know where they're coming from. Um, you don't know if they're legit. You don't know anything about them. All you know is they call sources. So you can't trust nothing. Uh, at worst, they are going to get Thomas. I'm answering your question. They are going to get new offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators because you know Brian Johnson ain't staying. Matt Patricia probably is not going to stand. Now I just saw a thing with again Marcus Hayes. He quotes Slay as saying they should have kept Denard Wilson, and that's like, duh. You're not really saying any breaking news on there. We all know they should have kept Denard Wilson, but that's water under the bridge now. So I'd have to do some research. I'm not sure if Patricia did Patricia have ties with Sirianni. Were they friends? Because Sirianni is loyal to a fault, in my opinion. Because for whatever reason, he didn't want Denard Wilson, and because of that, he walked. But when he hired Patricia, the first thing you say is, "Well, that looks suspect." So that must have been coming. That must have been part of the plan for him to figure out a way uh, to get Patricia in the building. At least that's what it looks like to me. I could be wrong, but that's what it seems like. Because Desai, you might not have liked what he was doing, but it was feasible. Our tackling and the injuries, you can't do nothing about. Tackling has been bad all year. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna do another video. I'm gonna produce this one. I'm not gonna do a live stream, but I'm going to go back and look at a bunch of my old videos and try to track how many times I talked about your tackling. Because it was a lot. Because it was that bad from the beginning. And I remember saying that last year. Heck, for the past 3 or 4 years. Because of what they do and don't do in training camp nowadays. That whole thing about new-a-days versus two-a-days, that's where all that stuff comes from. James Monsanto, what's going on, brother? But, Bob, I think they're going to keep Nick. I'm 50-50 on it. Thomas, tackling. Pathetic is we got to find a better word for that. Because pathetic doesn't do justice to what they put on the field. What's up, Rusty Perry? Pathetic, we need another adjective. Pathetic is not good enough. Putrid, horrendous, all of those adjectives are not good enough to describe the Eagles' defense tackling this year. God awful. God awful is the best I can think of, but there's got to be something worse. But in any case, that was not even NFL level. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't even. If a college kid got signed to a team and he tackled like the Eagles tackled this year, he would be cut. That's what that was. He would be cut. And that was across the board. The only people that looked like, at times, they could tackle was the defensive line. Everybody else, linebackers, I don't know what happened to Cunningham and Moreau because they were flying all over the field the first 6 to 7 games. Especially when the Kobe Dean went down that first time. Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Moreau, I thought were a good combination. To me, that was unexpected. As good as they played, and all of a sudden, it was like it was good until it wasn't. And our linebacker play, our tackling, James Bradbury, it was like everything was okay, and they just dropped off a cliff. It wasn't even a gradual decline. They just totally fell off a cliff. And it's like, where did this come from? But it's in its place now. So I don't know if they do decide to fire Sirianni. And I've said this before. And here's the question that you're always looking for. Okay, if you want to fire him, you have legitimate reasons for that. But if you do fire him, who are you going to get? And when you look at everybody's throwing out Belichick. Everybody's throwing out Vrabel. And all these other available coaches, Pete Carroll. I don't think Pete Carroll wants to come to the East Coast. If he can't get on the surfboard, he ain't doing it. So I don't even know why they say Pete Carroll. I'll take his name off the list. Plus, I don't want another. Even honestly, in my opinion, even with Belichick, I don't want another 70-something-year-old coach. Because how long are they going to do that? And then we're going to find ourselves in 2-3 years right back in the situation we were now, or we are in now. And this goes back to the everybody just wants to add water. Who's to say when we get that coach, what is he going to do? And I will always use the example of Sean Payton down in Denver. He had a lot of gravitas behind him, but when he got down there and started working the job, what happened? So, I don't know. Bob, what you won't deuce? They're not going. Well, it's funny. You kind of laugh at that and say, yeah, Lurie's not going to give Deuce an opportunity to do that. But Jeffrey Lurie is the owner that is known to give first-time head coaches a shot. Doug Peterson, Chip Kelly, Nick Sirianni. If you look at the timeline from 3 years ago when Doug Peterson left, Doug Peterson basically had the Eagles by the balls because of the time. If you look at the timeline when that happened, when Doug Peterson, when they fired him or he walked, however you want to look at it, everybody had already made the hires. The coaching carousel was already slowing down and about to stop. They was about to tell everybody to get off the ride. Then this happens, and all of the best candidates were gone. So we settled on Sirianni, and we got lucky when it comes to that. Keep that in mind. We got lucky with Sirianni because nobody wanted him. Same way nobody wanted Doug Peterson. So in that situation, props to Howie for going a little bit deeper and I guess seeing something that you liked that paid off. So in that situation, you 2 out of 3. Chip Kelly didn't work out, but you saw how that thing got handled. They got Howie out of the office. Doug Peterson comes in, Howie comes back, we get to a Super Bowl, all is well in the world. And then soon after that, the guy that brings our franchise its first Super Bowl, he gets fired because he wants too much control. So back to my original point of Vrabel, Belichick, and all these other names, Harbaugh, that you want to throw around, which one of those guys are going to play nice with Howie Roseman? Bill Belichick already is established in how he does things. You're not going to hire him if you don't let him do what he does. He wants to be part GM. And if him and Roseman aren't lockstep, it's not going to work. Same thing with Vrabel. Although I would think Vrabel probably would have a little bit more of a better working relationship with Howie. Just because more of the same age, and it just strikes me that the personalities would match. I have nothing to back that up. That's just my opinion based on what I see. Eddie Bird, back again. What's going on, homie? Rusty Perry on Facebook is saying, from games last season and the end of this season, it seems as if this year's play was deliberately bad. You know what? I've said that a few times myself. Like, how could it actually be this bad? It didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. So you're not wrong in that. I've thought the same thing. Because no offensive coordinator worth their salt is going to come up with a game plan where you don't have a counter for a blitz. We've been saying that since last year. Like, where are the hot routes? Last year we started, where are the hot routes? And how come they didn't use motion? And the same things applied. So, now this is where I go back to Nick Sirianni saying this was his offense. It wasn't on Brian Johnson. Okay, I'm going to take him at his word. But last year it was the same thing under Shane Steichen. So did Shane Steichen have Nick Sirianni's offense and Shane Steichen just sprinkled his special brisket seasoning on there and it made it taste better? Because that's what it sounds like. Because if they're running the same offense, but you getting different results, what kind of scheme are we dealing with here? Was the blitz negated last year by the RPOs? I don't know. It didn't seem like it. So we got to have something better. So at worst, we keep Sirianni and we get 2 new coordinators. I think Sirianni just struck out. I'm curious, though, who politicked for Matt Patricia. That's what I want to know. You don't just demote a defensive coordinator. And not for nothing, you look at some of them games, and I use these two. We had some bad ones too, but you look at what we did with Miami. You look at what we did with Kansas City. You look at what we did with who am I thinking of? Kansas City, Miami, and there was another. L.A., the Rams. When we went to travel to L.A. and we shut them down in the second half with the same defense, the same guys that couldn't tackle. We would get, at least we were making it respectable. And we could hold it down in the second half and give the offense a chance to get it going. That's why we came back in so many games. Yeah, Chris, you missed it. That was proven to be false. The same person that put that report out came back out and said that that report was false. So, um, Richard Hamilton, Mr. Hamilton, what's going on, man? I appreciate you, bro. I love you, man. So I don't know. To me, it's going to be 50-50 on whether or not they keep Sirianni. 50-50. I can understand why they would keep him, and I can understand why they would let him go, why they would axe him. Because you can't, and I said this before the Tampa Bay game, everybody and their mama knew that they were going to blitz. Been talking about it for ad nauseum. You knew Todd Bowles was going to blitz. All you got to do is look at the film from the first time we played them. And they blitzed us 60%. And we may have got the best of the blitz maybe twice in that game. I know they got that one pass off to Devontae Smith, and he's the only one on the offense that bothered to show up. And I think it was another one that I think we may have escaped or something. But, I mean, they blitzed 60% of the time. And we couldn't handle it. Now, to me, that's the death knell for Sirianni. Because if you know what's coming and you still don't prepare, that's a problem. That's like my twin sister used to always say. She dealing with these kids in her class, and she tells them that there's a test coming. And then the day the test is, they act like they didn't know. And it's like, I've been telling you, the test is here. Today's the test. Been telling you this for a month. It's the same way with Sirianni. He knew this was coming. And that is the game plan that we came up with. And here's one thing that I was thinking about today. OBJ did this. T.O. would do this. C.D. Lamb. I'm sure A.J. Brown has done it at some point in his career. When you get your number one receiver and he's open, what do? They're looking back at the quarterback like, got the hand up. And this is how I know that our scheme versus the blitz just was non-existent. Because whenever you got all of them guys coming, the back middle of that field is wide open. Wide ass open. So at some point, whoever was the inside receiver on either side, if they were supposed to be the hot route, at some point in time, at least one time, somebody's going to put their hand up like, yo, I'm here. Throw me the ball. At least one time. And it never happened. And all of those routes were 10-yard routes. 10-yard slants. Not even a 10-yard. I know they had the 10-yard button hooks, but your back is to the ball. Not even skinny slants and nothing like that. So when people say maybe Jalen just doesn't know how to read the blitz, I don't buy that at all. He read the blitz last year. It was non-existent all year. I don't understand in this day and age when the NFL is a copycat league how we don't make that adjustment. I don't get it. Yeah, 59-19 by the Giants and Buccaneers. Good God. That is awful. Jim Ballard, what's going on, my man? What is going on? Yes, I know this is your guy, Jim. I know this is your dude. He's on the hot seat right now, so we trying to see what's going to happen. A month ago, well, no. At week 10 or 11, we lost that game to San Francisco, and they punched us in the mouth. But we knew what was coming, not because the team wasn't good enough, but because you know what our issues were on the defense. And people tend to forget the first 2 drives, we went right down the field. We went right down the field, except we just couldn't get it in the end zone. So we came out with 6. We should have had 14. And if we do that, it's a whole different ball game. But even when you go back and look at the San Francisco game and then the Dallas game, San Francisco, they beat us. They were the better team. Dallas, we gave that game away because we fumbled the ball in Dallas territory 3 times. You can't do that. You can't put the ball on the ground and give it up. Lose 3 fumbles by your 3 best players on the team. You can't do that and expect to win. Can't do it. I wouldn't mind seeing Brian Flores as the defensive coach. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I don't think he would make it here as a head coach. So, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Brian Flores as a DC though. That's a good. Greg Roman as an offensive coordinator. Okay, I can live with that. Here's the thing: if we keep Nick, whoever they bring in as the offensive coordinator has got to bring in their own offense, their own offensive scheme. They got to mix it with what we already have. The only problem with that is I really don't want Jalen Hurts to have to start from scratch. Because you take a step back when you have to learn another offense. It's tough. I don't think people understand because all you see is everybody looking at iPads. Jim, you already know, bro. Back in the day when we played, you had that 3-inch, 3-ring binder with all your plays in it. So the complexity of offenses hasn't changed. It just looks that way because now they're on the iPad instead of having a big 3 to 4-inch thick book with plays on double-sided, 8 plays on one page. And you got front and back. So you got 16 plays on one piece of paper. All that kind of stuff. So a lot of information when you bring in a new offense. And you got your quarterback. He's got to learn everything. He's got to learn every position and be able to tell everybody what to do in any given situation. And if the scheme is correct, recognize the blitz and call routes off the blitz. So I don't know, man, but this has been an epic collapse. I'm not a big fan of just executing the guy because the public doesn't like the way it looked. But in this case, I understand. If everybody is saying the same thing, everybody can't be wrong. Everybody can't be wrong. Philly Power Man, if Greg Roman is a heavy run offense, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Maybe we can get somebody in here that will use the running backs like they should be used. And maybe once or twice we could get somebody in the top 3 rusher in the league or lead the league in rushing or have a balanced attack, God forbid. Put Jalen Hurts under center and let's get some true play action so we can make some things happen. I still don't understand why we don't do that. And every time we do it, we're pretty successful with it. I want the plays that are instinctual. When you run play action under center and you stick that arm out, linebackers are flying. Because it is innate when you are on defense to get to the ball. That's what you were taught. Get to the ball. If you see the ball way out here, you flowing to the ball. That's what play action is. Not none of these half-ass fakes in gun formation. Don't work. So whoever's going to come in, we got to they got to have a little bit of creativity on the offense. Now, we don't need McDaniels craziness like he's doing down in Miami because he gets too creative to a fault. The best example, and I keep using this, is what they doing out Shanahan in San Francisco. That's the best example. You've seen what they offer as far as the motion and the arc motion and the pitch and the skinny pitch and lining skill guys on the inside at the tight end spot so you get the matchup advantage and all of that. That's being creative. And by now, everybody is seeing what they do. And they still can't stop it. That's how you know you got a good offense. Everybody knows what you coming with. And they can't stop you. But stuff like that is not complicated, man. Elijah says dark horse name for defensive coordinator is Jesse Minter from Michigan. Okay. I don't care where he come from, as long as we get some people on defense that can tackle. Because I think I don't think we can find somebody that can do worse than what we experienced this year. So the bar is only going to go up. However, I think the defense, this situation is on Howie. Because Howie has got to get some linebackers. Pay the money, draft one, whatever you got to do. We got to get some linebackers. We missed TJ Edwards. He wanted to go home to Chicago, so he went home. We let Kaiser White go because we just didn't think that Kaiser White was going to play for another. And guess what? Kaiser White led the Chargers in tackling before we got him. And there's another guy that just walked right on out the door. Listen, man. Bob, I would love to see Seth as defensive coordinator. Or at least on the staff. I really would. I played with Seth. I know what he is. No nonsense guy. But I don't know. The interesting thing with Seth is what happens when it doesn't work. What happens when it doesn't work? Because it's all good that he's got all the experience and they should do this, that, and the other. And don't get it twisted. Seth knows what the hell he's talking about. But it is very difficult to get these players in this day and age, in this era of football, to play like we used to play back in the 90s. They just not built that way. They're just not. You're not going to find too many more Derrick Henrys, Aaron Donalds. They're sprinkled all over the place. But, I mean, they are less and less. You got, like that kid, you got Bosa in San Francisco. You got the Watt brother in Pittsburgh. You got Aiden Hutchinson in Detroit. Heck, we got Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick. So they are sprinkled, but you just don't have them dogs like we had back in the 90s. They don't make them like that no more. Because everything is speed rush. They don't hit. They can't hit. So it's just a different breed. So back to the point about Seth. Do I think Seth could be a good defensive coordinator? Absolutely. But could he deal with these players in this era? That's the key with Seth. Because it would be good until it isn't. And what is he going to do when it isn't? But I'll be up for giving him the opportunity. I don't think he should go right in and be a defensive coordinator. I think he should be an assistant defensive coach, like a linebacker coach, and kind of work his way into that mix. I think he would be good in that regard. Because he could look at, figure out what they are calling as a defense and add his input, and, you could get with the other coaches and figure something out. I think he would be good for that. But I'm like, shit, they let Jeff Saturday just step in and coach a team. So, heck, if he can do it, why can't Seth? Why not? Yeah, Thomas Stapleton on Facebook. Yeah, everybody on Facebook, come check me out on YouTube. Please check me out on YouTube and subscribe. All that good stuff. Um, yeah, they shouldn't have got rid of Kazir. They shouldn't have got rid of C.J. Gardner Johnson. But done talked about C.J. Gardner Johnson a lot. That is what it is. I wish we would have kept C.J., but he was asking for too much money. Plain and simple. He was. Here's my thing. If he was either asking for way too much money, he overshot the market, or he was acting like an ass. Because he's got that personality. He's very braggadocious and get in your face, and everybody plays that clip when he got in the face of Tom Brady and all of that kind of stuff. So he's that type of personality, and I can see him going into the office and saying something he shouldn't have said, or just the attitude or whatever. But in any case, Eagles should have kept him. He was the diva, not AJ. But we should have paid the money. So he must have been asking for the world. Because you lead the league in interceptions and the team doesn't want to sign you. Because most of the people they always forget that the way the timeline rolled, James Bradbury was out of here and Slay was out of here. Slay was packing his bags. He was on the internet on Twitter, and his wife was on Twitter and thanking everybody in Philadelphia, and he was on the way out. He was packing. And then CJGJ, that deal fell through. And then that's why they signed James Bradbury. And James Bradbury was legit last year. His drop off this year again, off a cliff. It wasn't a gradual decline. He just came back and just couldn't play. I don't understand that. It happens like that sometimes. It's good until it ain't. 88 SMC. We never see play action under center. Preach. Nor running back screens because they'll run 8 wide receiver screens a game. Yes, and you know what? That's something that I harped on all last year. And I think even 2 years ago. I hate bubble screens. Bubble screen is the play that the Eagles call when they don't know what to do. And they use that excuse like, well, if it's third and long, the bubble screen, we broke a couple of that. And it's like you forgetting the fact that Devontae Smith had to be damn near Superman to break those tackles and to make that play happen. That wasn't supposed to go down like that. What's up, Cody K? So, our biggest concern this year, number one, they got to figure out what they want to do with Sirianni. Had a Zoom call, get face-to-face, make that decision. The quicker you do it, the better off we'll be. So we're not late in the game like we did last year with Jonathan Gannon. And again, we stuck because of the timing. We go all the way to the Super Bowl. You can't talk to anybody until after the Super Bowl. And then next thing you know, Jonathan Gannon ain't taking the plane ride back. So now we got to find a new DC, and you go through all of that stuff, and timing is everything. And the last two situations with Jonathan Gannon and before that with Doug Peterson, we got screwed with the timing. Why would Denard Wilson want to come back when they had the opportunity to keep him in-house and they didn't? Sirianni didn't want to do it. Or Howie Roseman didn't want to do it. Regardless of how it shook out, why would he want to come back? He's on a squad that's probably going to go to the Super Bowl this year and's got a damn good chance to win it. Their defense is tops in the league. Why would he want to come back to Philadelphia? Unless he just loves it here so much, or maybe it was a different situation that we don't understand. But anybody in that situation, the only way I can see Denard Wilson trying to come back here is if we don't have the same coach. Because either one or two things happen. Because remember, and this is why I say maybe, if Sirianni was pulling to get Patricia in here, why would Denard Wilson want to come back? Because they overlooked him, somebody that was in-house, and went outside the family, right? To get Sean Desai. When you had somebody in-house and the players loved the dude. So what I think is they should have kept Denard Wilson and Brian Johnson should have walked. And we should have got a new DC. I mean, a new offensive coordinator. But maybe, and you throwing all of this stuff on the wall to see what sticks. We'll never know until somebody does they tell all podcasts or whatever. But maybe Sirianni wanted to keep Brian Johnson. Number one, he already knows Jalen. Jalen's comfortable with him. And number two, Brian Johnson knows Sirianni's offense. So it goes back to Sirianni wanting to run his offense. That's not working. And Sirianni was the one that said this was his offense. So I'm going to take him at his word. This ain't Brian Johnson's offense. And this is one of these things where you got to wait until... What's up, Fuji? You got to wait until like later on. Because Brian Johnson's going to be out of here. Let's say Brian Johnson gets gets his first head coaching job. Let's say if they hire him in Carolina. Or he becomes an OC somewhere else. And you see the production and you see things that you didn't see here. Then you're wondering, like, well, Nick, what were you doing? How come we can't get that? And that definitely puts him on the hot seat. Lito Shepard is already coaching. Bring him back to Philly as DB coach to get them Vols right. Possibly, but guess what, man? You can't. You got to get good players. You got to get good players. I think our secondary is going to be fine because we're going to lose the dead weight sometime this year. They're not bringing Bradbury back. Slay, I can see them bringing Slay back because Slay is still playing at a high level, in my opinion. But who's to say Slay can't drop off next year like Bradbury did this year? And not for nothing, Slay can't tackle either. I don't care what he said on this podcast. He can't tackle either. He back there making business decisions, and it shows. So, yeah, man, I'm with you, Fuji. Mike says, I can't wait till the laundry air is out from this locker room. Yeah, man. Good evening and good peps. I appreciate it, bro. So it's like, I don't know, man. I'm very curious to see what is Lurie looking for? Like, what does he want out of his coach? Like, if Sirianni is an offensive, and this is when I think about, yeah, he probably should have got fired. If he is an offensive mind, now mind you, he was San Diego with Phillip Rivers. He was in Indianapolis. And I know I'm missing somewhere else where he was before he got here, but Sirianni knew what he was doing. You don't become an assistant coach or offensive coordinator, let alone a head coach, at that age if you don't know what you're doing, regardless if nobody knows you or not. You got to know what the hell you're doing to be even interviewing for situations like that. So you got to trust that he knows what he's doing. And if that's the case, I'll take him at his word. That's his offense, and your offense couldn't account for any blitzes. And let's just say, okay, it's on the players. They wasn't doing what they're supposed to. Okay, then that's your job as a coach to corral everybody in and put something together that works. Because there's one thing that players will do. If something is working, they will run what's working. Because that benefits them. That benefits the players. You want those incentives? Run the plays that work. So, he said this is his offense. I'm going to take him at his word. But because of that, you catching all the hell. This is all on you. Brian Johnson was under. This is Philly Power Man. Brian Johnson was under Urban Meyer and Dan Mullen, so I know his style of offense is run heavily. Um, okay, but here's the one thing that I've realized: just because somebody was under another coach or a famous coach, doesn't mean that they're going to take uh, all of their coaching acumen with them. Doesn't necessarily mean that. They might cherry pick different parts and just come up with their own stuff. So I don't know. Um, yeah, 88. I agree with you. If you go back in 21 when he finally gave up play calling, you see the difference. So again, if Sirianni says it's his blueprint, I'm gonna take you at your word, bro. Um, how come Andy Reid didn't keep Sirianni in Kansas City? I don't think Andy Reid. I think Sirianni was still cutting his teeth back then. He was still he did he was taking his lumps. That's what he was doing. He was taking his lumps. So it'll be interesting to see whoever they get. Man, they gotta come in ready. They have to come in ready because the benefit of this is let's say they decide to keep Nick Sirianni, right? The good thing about that is just imagine. I know there's some people that's watching this probably like this. Uh, when you got something to do, you got a task to complete, and it's coming down to crunch time. Sometimes some people do their best work when you know you got to get it done the nth degree, or it's done. You got to have it done at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Got to have this project finished. You got to have this video edited. You got to have that sound done and sweetened and all of that kind of stuff. You got to get it done. And some people do their best work when they under the gun. Maybe Nick Sirianni is going to be like that. Maybe. But again, that remains to be seen. I am sure that the people in that locker room really love and respect Nick Sirianni because he seems to me to have that type of attitude. He's got that stereotypical like Italian loyalty thing that goes almost to his detriment at times. So I understand why the players like him. However, that has nothing to do with you possibly being in a meeting in a film session and you looking at stuff like, yo, this ain't working. Why are we still running this? Both things can be mutually true. Countrywide, what's going on, bro? They need to make things right with the AJ and save the relationship. I think people are making too much ado about nothing with AJ. AJ ain't going nowhere. He's under contract. Jalen is still his friend. And AJ Brown went for 1,400 this year. So I don't think AJ is the problem. I'm not worried about keeping him happy. I think that's overblown anyways. People are looking for a focal point for the negativity. So you saw what you saw coming out with calling him a diva, didn't talk to the press for a week, all of that kind of stuff. To me, that's people looking for something to say. That's when Marcus Hayes is quoting sources, or just like tonight, Diana Rossini, who, for all intent and purposes, is a credible source. She's not new to this. She is not unknown. We know who she is, and she is usually a reliable source. But she got it wrong. So, who is sources? When Marcus Hayes says sources close to Jalen Hurts or sources close to the situation, who is sources? The only source you got is somebody on that team is snitching. And if people knew who that person was, that would be bad for business. So that's not, in my opinion, do some of these guys make this stuff up? Absolutely. They will get a sliver of information, but you got to write a column that long, so you got to fill in the gaps. You got to make some stuff up. Put it on Chat GPT. See what it comes up with. You got to do something to fill in those gaps. And I think that happens more than people realize, which is why everybody's always quoting sources. Which is why Adam Schefter reports that Jason Kelce has retired, and he didn't. You robbed that man of his moment. Trying to be first. Diana Ruzzini. She put out a bad statement. Had to put out, like, not a retraction, but basically she had to course correct because she wanted to be first. I did the same thing. I saw that. Diana Ruzzini, she's credible. Let's go with that. I told my wife, I was like, looks like they keeping Sirianni. She was like, what? Turns out to be false. You saw my screenshot, didn't you? If you saw my screenshot, my thumbnail, an hour ago, as opposed to right before the stream started, I had to change the thumbnail and put a big fake sign on the thumbnail. Because I got too. And that's the way it goes. So you got to be ready and willing to vet your sources. And these days, people, and I'm guilty of it because I just did it tonight. You see something on Twitter, it's from who you consider a reliable source, so it must be true. If Adam Schefter said it, it must be true. If Diana Ruzzini said it, it must be true. Not always the case. Not always the case. So when somebody cites sources, and I don't blame AJ Brown, and when he called out Marcus Hayes, I wanted to ask him who his source was. Who did you hear that from? Because I guarantee you, players do not tell you everything. They won't. They just won't. They'll keep it in-house. And they won't tell you everything. They even with all the stuff that AJ Brown did say, he didn't tell you everything. He definitely didn't tell you everything. So when you get a situation like that, they make it up. Thomas on Facebook, I'm with you, man. AJ ain't the problem. AJ is not the problem. Elijah says, question for you. If you ask yourself if Nick were to get fired, would he land another head coaching job? If not, would you fire him? He would get another head coaching job. Not this year, though. Not after that season. It would take him. He would have to go back to being a coordinator again. Either way you slice it for Sirianni, it puts him back on the hot seat. Because after this season, I'm not sure somebody would want to hire him as a head coach. Now, having said that, you look at somebody like Josh McDaniels that keeps getting jobs and they ain't never had a winning season. So, is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No. He would have to go back to being the coordinator. Then, you see him as a coordinator, and if his offense is as bad as what we think it is, why would he keep that job? So, he really is on the hot seat. Somebody would pick him up, though. He'd be on somebody's team, or he'd mess around. He'd be in the UFL coaching. So, you know, I don't know where he would go. He would still get a lot of attention, because as bad as we're thinking about Nick Sirianni right now, we cannot forget the fact that we've been in the playoffs ever since he got here. And remember, in 2021, nobody, and I mean nobody, was backing Jalen Hurts. Nobody wanted that kid. I thought my thing on Jalen Hurts at the end of the 2021 season was he's played well enough to be named the starter for next year, and then next year we will decide whether or not we want to keep him. And that's exactly what happened. He balled out, and he got his bag. But for our offense to look like it looks, with Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, AJ Brown, we got weapons. And for our offense to be that anemic is horrible. Both of them gone, in my opinion. Whether or not Sirianni stays or not. Now, if he wants to die on that hill, if Brian Johnson can't stay, I'm not staying. If he wants to die on that hill, see you later. Adios. Khadijah don't need you. Dennis, who you talking about we paid too early? I didn't forget Goddard, Thomas. Dennis, who you talking about we played too early? Jalen? Julio Jones could have been more effective, but again, that falls on the play caller. Who's the play caller? I don't know. I don't know. My mindset is a little bit different. It's like I would never have stopped giving AJ Brown the ball. Whatever they was doing when he had that incredible historic run, why would you stop? The Dennis, no, I don't think they paid Jalen too soon. He's the guy that you want. If anybody needed to be the face of a franchise, it was him. He was doing something different. You couldn't stop him. You had a coach that knew how to use him. That's the one thing that's changed. Last year we had a coach. Last year's MVP wasn't Jalen Hurts, it was Shane Steichen. So you got the guy that you want. You got the guy that's good in the community. You got the guy that knows the right things to say, is stoic, says all the right things, doesn't let on with what's going on. You got the intangible guy that you need on top of the kid can play quarterback and he got better as a traditional passer. What else do you want? The problem, in my opinion, was the coaching this year, not Jalen Hurts. Because let's say it was Jalen Hurts. And he was missing reads and all of that kind of stuff, not calling out the offense. That's what a coach gets paid to do. Coach. Dennis, I disagree. Blankenship is not a bust. Blankenship is better than he has any right to be. And he is a starter in this league. He is I'm a fan of Reed Blankenship. He earned his place and he was playing good ball. But again, you got to look at the macro. Everybody was running around on that defense and didn't know what the hell they were doing. So you got to take that into consideration. He got himself into some bad situations, but is that because of bad play, not knowing where he was supposed to be, or because the defense just not doing what it's supposed to do? So I will disagree with that. Blankenship is not a bust. I think Blankenship is going to be one of those 8 to 10 year players that's just always going to be around. Solid vet, knows what to do, knows where to be. That's what you want. The reason why he's injury prone is he keeps lowering his head. So, but you can say that about anybody. And that goes with our whole secondary this year. So that's not really saying much. That's not really saying much at all because it was everybody. It was Reed. It was Blankenship. It was Kevin Byard. It was Red Roby when he got in there. Eli Ricks got burned a couple times. So it was the whole, they took the cake out the oven too quick, man. So we got some good young guns. We got Sidney. Sidney just gotta slow it down and understand what he's supposed to do. And he'll be fine. I don't think they ruined Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown's another one. Sidney Brown looks like, to me, Sidney Brown plays exactly like Marcus Epps did last year. Good speed, very aggressive, but sometimes move too fast for his own good. and he over pursued, missed tackles. Don't forget, if you remember, if you go back to that game, the playoff game in San Francisco, Epps comes up and lays a hit on CMC, but he ducks his head. He goes straight to the ground. CMC bounces off the tackle and goes in for like a 22-yard touchdown or something like that. Even last year, we didn't know how to tackle. We just hit it better. Um, I mean, that's your opinion, but I think they work well together. And, we'll find out. We will find out. So, let's see. I'm checking my Twitter feed and I don't see anything else. Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, it could go either way. I don't mind Sirianni sticking around, but we can't have the coordinators because either way, we got to get it exposed. And not for nothing, if they keep Sirianni, he already knows next year he's coaching for his job. So when you have that type of pressure on you, you are detailed to the nth degree. But if you're gonna get like that, you should have been like that. If that makes sense. But in a situation like this, he better be coaching his ass off because his job is on the line. That's the one good thing. Make no mistake. Next year, Sirianni's behind is on the line if the Eagles do not perform. If the offense is still doing the same stuff it was doing this year, he will be fired. He won't make it through the year. He won't make it through the year. So I don't mind if he comes back. Because that means he's going to have his heels to the flame all year. Every time something goes wrong, the minute we lose a game, everybody's nitpicking everything. And then you're going to have that big contingency that Philadelphia always has where you're going to have all those people that want him gone immediately. So by keeping him, you put the pressure on him. You put the big time pressure on him. And pressure does two things: make diamonds and burst pipes. So which one is he going to be? But my biggest detractor for Nick Sirianni is we got to stop with the illogical offense and doing stuff that doesn't make sense. We shouldn't go 30 or throwing the ball for a low percentage pass when all we need is 5 yards. Dennis, I think to me, it's never about how far you make it. It's about how you lose. We already knew our issues on defense. Everybody knows what our warts are. But for them to go down to Tampa Bay and put that product on offense on the field is inexcusable. So it's not that you lose, it's how you lose. And we lost that game in Tampa, and we looked like we didn't even belong on the field. It looked like we were unprepared for everything Todd Bowles was throwing at us when we all knew what Todd Bowles was going to throw at us. That's the problem. You knew what was coming, and we still weren't prepared. That is coaching. Ron Rivera, hell to the no. Not no, but hell no. Ron Rivera, no thank you. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. I don't want Ron Rivera. No. Stop playing. Now, if they want to mess around with Eric Bieniemy, if you can get Sam Howell slinging the rock like he did, I'll be curious to see what he could do with Mahomes and not Mahomes. What he could do with Jalen Hurts. somebody that can move around like Mahomes, and you know, the enemy could have some creativity. But yeah, the Ron Rivera thing, no thanks. Nope. So we got I've been still scrolling the Twitterverse and ain't nothing else coming back out. Somebody put out a list of possible OC candidates. Josh McDaniels, no thank you. Jim Bob Cooter, Colts offensive coordinator. Byron Leftwich from Marshall, yeah, former Bucks OC. I wouldn't mind Byron Leftwich. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Shane Waldron, Greg Olson, Seahawks. T. Martin, former Tennessee quarterback. I need to be a coach. I'll take that check. Daryl Bevel, Pep Hamilton, former Texas OC. Gerard Johnson, another Texans QB. So there's some names out there available. Some of these I would like. Some of these I would like. What's up, Kim? I see you, homie. So we have some options available to us. I just want to trust that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are going to make the right decisions, but we will see. We will see. So, um, I would imagine at some point, I don't know, tomorrow, Friday, or maybe they won't announce anything until the weekend. But the thing is, the longer they wait, the more that makes me think that they're not trying to make a move. Because if you have these big names that are available, you have to, you got to interview. You got to. We don't want to get caught with our pants down like we did with Sirianni and Doug Peterson when that whole thing went down. Now that was not our fault. I think Doug Peterson tried to use the leverage of the time to make his point, and it didn't. Mm-mm. And I would love to find out like how that really went down because everybody loved Doug Peterson. Everybody in that building loved Doug Peterson. So in that meeting down in Florida, it must have been some words said because that came out of left field and it took everybody aback when we lost Doug Peterson. And it happened so late, and that's why I say I think Doug Peterson was trying to use that as leverage because most of the teams had already made their hires already. They had already made their decisions. So basically we just got the scraps. We got lucky with Sirianni. I remember having if my boy Jim Ballard is still on Facebook watching, Jim Ballard was my quarterback when we won the World League in '96 in Scotland, and he coached Sirianni when he was in college. Sirianni was a receiver, so but I remember we had a conversation when they hired him, and he told me, shout out to you, Jim Ballard. He told me, he was like, just watch. He's like, this dude's got it. Just watch. And I was like, all right. And get off on the right foot. But he was right. Sirianni can coach. He can build a locker room. And I think the only reason we didn't lose the locker room this year is because of the relationships that Sirianni built, the type of guy that he is with the whole loyalty thing. There's pluses and minuses with that. The plus is you can build relationships and you can make the guys in the locker room want to run through the wall for you and things of that nature. The minuses is you're loyal to a fault. So you will hire a Matt Patricia in when you already got a defensive coordinator. And you'll get rid of Denard Wilson because you want to bring somebody else. You want to bring one of your friends in. So it can work both ways. Yeah, Deuce got robbed. I think we should have kept Deuce. But we didn't. I didn't think he would. I think Deuce is eventually going to be a head coach, and I think he'll be a good one. But even what's a good head coach? And I've said this before. You show me a good coach, and I'll show you a coach with good players. And I believe that. And that's why, again, now this goes back to a reason why Sirianni probably should be fired. With the weapons that we had, as anemic as our offense was at times, and you still got 2,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard running back, we had weapons. The only reason Dallas Goedert didn't do much better was because he had to sit out for a month. He missed 4 games. So the biggest detriment to the Eagles this year was that non-creative, vanilla offense and injuries on defense. Because at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what kind of quarterback you got. Defense still wins championships. If they can't score, they can't win. Defense wins championships. Last year, if we stop Patrick Mahomes one time, if we can get one stop, we win the Super Bowl. Can't do it. Who would have thought that this year with the Eagles, Michael Clay, special teams coach, would be the best coach on the staff? And I wanted Michael Clay fired last year because our special teams was that bad. You talking about somebody doing a 180. I wish there was something where he could get coach of the year. So we shall see. Maybe we'll get some more news tomorrow. I'm trying to search. Is anything else popping off? I don't see anything. Do not see anything. Eagles news. Okay, so they pushing it back all the way till next Wednesday. This is from NBC Sports. Eagles coach Nick Sirianni will meet with owner Jeffrey Lurie on Wednesday. Why are we waiting so long? That makes me think that we're going to keep him. Why would you wait that long? Do it on a Zoom call, fly him out to wherever you are, whatever the situation. So that makes me think that they will keep him. That's my prediction now. That we will keep Nick Sirianni. We're going to get a new defensive coordinator. We're going to get a new offensive coordinator, and we'll go from there. But it looks like they're going to keep Sirianni. Why would you wait that long? To next Wednesday? So, well, here's what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, Bleeding Green Nation came out. Uh, they got the same sources about from Diana Rossini as everybody else did. So this was 2 hours ago. So yeah, they got the bad information too. So nope, that's false news. But yeah, I don't see anything new. Diana Rossini, here we go again. Chris Landry. Yeah, they get the one piece of information and everybody runs with it. So glad I had a chance to get it vetted. Elliott Shore Parks got it wrong too. Nick Sirianni's meeting with Jeffrey Lurie today to present his plan for the future. Didn't happen. So E-Money, fire Nick Sirianni. I see you. I see where you stand. Like I said, I'm 50-50. I can see either or. But if you're going to do that, he did get us to the Super Bowl. And you got to be able to bring somebody in that's going to replace that production because we still are in our window, in my opinion. We still have the weapons. We can get some guys on defense. We can get some better linebackers and leave Hassan Reddick where the hell he belongs on the line of scrimmage. We can still do that. So we still have a Super Bowl window. But we got to take advantage of it. So this move, this is I was watching my man Tone DeShields show with my guy Rob Ellis this afternoon, and Tone said it. Eagles are at a crossroads, so they got to make the right moves. So I don't know. I don't know why we're waiting until Wednesday. but we are. So we gonna see what we gonna see. So, all right, I've been running off at the mouth for almost an hour and 10 minutes, probably a little longer. So, my wife baked some chicken wings, so I'm gonna go grab me some chicken wings, and I'm gonna go to bed. But thank you guys for joining me. If you guys on Facebook, Kim, Thomas, if you guys are still watching, please go to YouTube. Follow me, Pro Fan Talk, on YouTube. And give me a subscribe there because I'm putting out content almost every day. And tomorrow night, every Thursday at 7 p.m., I have a show called Pro Fan Talk on A2D Radio. Every Thursday night. I call A2D Radio the mothership. I've been working with them for almost 2 years now. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. on A2D Radio. Just do a YouTube search of A2D Radio, 7 p.m. on Thursday night. You will find me. All right, but I'm going to get up out of here. Appreciate everybody joining me. Appreciate all my homies joining me. Check out my content every day. And please, bring a friend. So we're going to keep growing. Tell somebody about me. The goal is to reach 2,000 subscribers before the Super Bowl. So let's get it. All right. And if any news comes out, I'll be dropping another live stream. So I will see you.